Sawyer, why, bud, you're not a great cameraman. All you do is provide crotch shots, dude. Can we not provide crotch shots for the podcast? For the people? Can we aim it up, please? Ugh, there. And we'll just leave it there. Is that good? So, today, I wanted to talk about tiny houses. As you can see, we're kind of crammed in here. Nicole's cooking supper over there. And I got the toddler in and out. Sawyer, do you want to say hi? He's unplugging all of my things so that I can't hear. I can't see what's going on. Did you like that? You're having fun with the thing? But anyway, I want to talk about what it's like living in a tiny house. For those of you who don't know, I used to live in a bus. Then I transitioned from my bus into a camper, truck top camper that I took across the country. And I ended up here buying this little abode, this little house. And now we live in it, 3 of us. That's a lot at sometimes because of him, because he's a lot. Living with a toddler in a tiny space isn't easy, especially when there's like danger about, and when you're trying to have like a studio and things for stuff like this, to have a spot that you can shoot and a spot that you can call your own, especially if you're an introvert and you want to like do your own thing. It's not that easy when 1, you've got a screaming toddler, and 2, you're constantly in each other's space. So homesteading is one of those things where you have to constantly be doing something, and there's no real downtime, and it's hard when you're in a tiny house, in a tiny dwelling, and you kind of only have the choice to be in each other's space. There's no free time. So it's not really for introverts. I find tiny living, specifically, not really for the introverted. Wouldn't you say, babe? Makes it hard. You like to play your Game Boy sometimes. Do you want to talk on mic? You just find, you find a corner of the house and you just kind of hide sometimes. That's why my office is in the other side of the basement, because it just makes it easier for me to go hide there sometimes when I work 8 hours a day or 6 to 8 hours a day. But most of the time, I would like to be spending my time outside. The toddler has completely ruined my audio, so I can't hear anything now. But I like to spend most of my time outside in the shed, but the shed isn't insulated, so we can't really use that yet. Or I can't really use that more for this kind of thing yet. I did for the last episode, use the shed out there, but now just kind of stuck with using, and I wanted to show what it's like. Yeah, tiny houses aren't ideal, especially if you're introverted. I think if you're extroverted, you can kind of get away with it. And sorry, don't kick Nicole's trying to squeeze by. That's the issue here, is that we don't have much space to do much of anything. I mean, we got rid of the piano, which really helped, because having a piano, as much as it sounds great and it's fun to play on the piano, you don't really have enough room to do that sort of thing. So we're now living with a keyboard. It doesn't sound as good as a piano does, but we'll see. I'll maybe play it sometime or one of these days on the podcast. But tiny house living isn't as glamorous as people make it out, that like, oh, it's so amazing, it's the best that you live in this tiny little dwelling with your significant other, or your significant other and your kids. And then the reality of it is you end up like this, just in close proximity to each other all the time, right? Yeah. Anyway, so, and it's not cute. Like, people make it look, or try to make it look super cute, that you just live in your tiny house, and it's like, oh, it's so amazing. But real people, like human beings, aren't that clean. Are people really, like, I don't think there's people out there that really genuinely keep their houses that, like, ridiculously clean. I think they are aliens. I think they're crazy people. Because our house is constantly like, we got laundry, even like in the background. I could hardly find a spot that you could not see a bunch of junk. Not junk, just stuff. Because when you have things you need to store or things you need, like when you're cooking, you need somewhere to put your spices. And then you need somewhere to put toddler and toddler diapers and then your clothes. And yes, you can downsize to a certain extent, but there's only so much you can do when especially when you're producing stuff. You have a number of cameras, and when you're homesteading doesn't lend itself well to tiny living, really, at least not in this climate. If we lived in a different climate and I could be outside more and shooting more outside more of the year, it might be a little different. But the fact that 6-ish months of the year we're just not able to really be outside really makes it difficult. So you kind of have to figure it out, and like where you're going to store your wood and where you're going to keep this and where you're going to keep that, and you end up with a toddler in your shot most of the time for what you're trying to do. Or you're trying to do voiceovers for clients and stuff, and then you have a toddler screeching upstairs or banging on the piano, so you just kind of make do. Right, babe? What do you think about living in a tiny house? Do you want to add something? You don't have to come on camera, but you can talk if you want. No interjections as to what tiny house living is like. I mean, it's cute. We just installed a little bench over there that really works. We used to have like more seating or more chairs just sort of strewn about. They were kind of more comfortable. They were cute, but now we've got a more efficient bench style, bar style, I guess, thing with a couple of stools that works well as like a dining room table. And then our coffee table doubles as a dining room table, and I guess everything doubles as a dining room table when you're living in a tiny house. You just kind of put your plate or you put your whatever on whatever you can, because it's not that easy to find space around here, right? And then it's not that easy being cheesy. Well, it's not that easy when you're trying to do like renovations and stuff. If you live in a bigger house and you're trying to renovate, you kind of just like you block off this space and then you do it. Whereas when you're living somewhere this small, you can't really. Like we were working on the floor in the bathroom this weekend, and Nicole was, quite frankly, and you don't really have the option to not finish it. Otherwise, you just have stuff in the way for an extended period of time. That's what we've run into, is that when you have to go, you have to take care of the toddler, and you have to eat, and you have to sleep. And in order to do that, you're just going to have stuff in the way. And you can't really effectively like renovate your bedroom or renovate Sawyer's bedroom or renovate the bathroom or really anything unless you have somewhere external to keep or house your things. So that is kind of a pain, and it's something where this space is constantly evolving, it's constantly changing, and we love it. I mean, we've made it cute. We got our doors and our lights and our chalkboard painted wall over there, and it's cute, and it is ours. It's our little space, but it's not perfect by any means. There's still issues, and it's definitely not toddler proof. Like I find a lot of cute houses and tiny houses. You look at them and you're like, oh my goodness, they're so amazing, but they're not toddler proof. Not even close. Like you got beds up in a loft, and then it's like an open loft, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. Except a toddler would like dive off of the friggin' loft, and it wouldn't end well for little ones. Or you've just got things stored places, and like, oh, you've got a billion cabinets that the toddler could just rummage through and throw stuff around, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It's hard. And if you have some advice as to how to live tiny living, I'm sure people do it and they do it effectively. We're just bad at it, maybe. Bad at maintaining our little space with the toddler. He's a lot. He's chaotic. Look at him. Look, are you chaotic right now? Yes, you're a lot. What are you saying? He's playing right now, I guess, kind of climbing on me. But tiny living, and at least living in the bus, was certainly an experience. For me, it was something that really helped get rid of, not necessarily get rid of, but it helped treat my anxiety, at least to a certain extent, because I lived for so long with so much anxiety, with so much fear, and living in the bus. I remember for the first 3 months, because I was parked, I lived in Fredericton, I lived in the city, and because I was parked in places in the city, it was a challenge to find somewhere to park that I wasn't scared that somebody was going to kick me out, or wasn't scared that somebody was going to come along and like try to break in. And that seems to be, I remember when I was part of the community, part of the van dwelling or tiny house living community, it was something that was like the biggest fear, was that the police or somebody would just come kick you out of the parking lot. And I never wanted that. And I think I only experienced that twice. And it was only here in New Brunswick. I drove across the entire country and never ran into that. And I think that was because here I was using the same places over and over. And I mean, I tried to stagger it, so I wasn't there 2 nights in a row. The only place I think I ever did that was Walmart. But I mean, Walmart, especially in the summer months, is known as like the place that you can camp. But it was an experience for sure. But it really helped with my anxieties, because I ended up, after those first 3 months, where I just lay awake, and every car that was driving by, or all the footprints. When you live in a city, you're scared. You're staring up at the ceiling, wondering if this person's going to try to break in, if that person is going to come knock and shine a light in your face and say, "Hey, you can't be here." And that was never my experience. Fortunately, that was never my experience. I know other people that have rough experiences or don't have quite as nice of experience that I did. So I'm very thankful for that anyway. But definitely the winter months, I remember living in the camper in Winnipeg or in Calgary. It was the most difficult time to do the van dwelling sort of thing, because when you're in a parking lot that needs to get plowed or that needs to get serviced in the winter months, you can't really stay there overnight, or at least for an extended period of time, because you need to move. Like, you got to get out of the way, and it's cold. And I was lucky. I installed a little wood stove, which is 100% not safe, but I installed a little wood stove in the camper that worked, and it kept me warm. But there was still, because it was so small, you really couldn't put that much heat into it. And there was mornings where I'd wake up and it was like -2, -3 inside, and it'd be -10, -15 outside. It just made life difficult at times because it was so cold. I mean, I had the winter sleeping bag and enjoyed it. Again, it's an experience, but for an extended period of time, it's just not feasible. Like, you could probably do it for a year, 2 years, maybe up to 5 years, but it's hard. And to progress in life, and I know everybody sort of has a different view of what progressing in life is, or settling down, if you will, but it's just not a feasible thing in my mind or in my desires, what I want in life, to do long term, to just continue doing. What I've found is that I love the homesteading, the animals, the having our own food, growing our own vegetables, which we utterly failed, past tense. Hopefully we'll be better this year. I'll build a greenhouse and it'll be good. But homesteading is more what I enjoy, and the having a family and having Nicole and Sawyer about is more what I want, rather than the van dweller, the voyager, the vagrant lifestyle was something that I enjoyed for a time and loved it and learned a lot from it. Learned a lot of self-sufficiency, was able to get over a lot of my anxieties just that had been instilled in me from nothingness, just personal whatever that I was able to get over. And now trying to get over other insecurities and learn other things and to figure things out, because this is hard. And I appreciate that it's hard. It's something that I think homesteaders, like, nobody really claims that it's easy, but they kind of have this glorification of it, that homesteading is this awesome, like, woo, we're going to raise our chickens and our pigs, and it's going to be this awesome lifestyle that is amazing all the time. And it's not, because it's hard. And you have to wake up early, and you have to take care of animals, and you have to go outside when it's cold and you don't want to. And I'm lucky to be able to work from home and to be able to sort of be lax about it. But it's certainly not easy, and it shouldn't be as glorified really as it is, because it's hard. But nothing is worth having that really is easy. So if we're able to do this long term, I'll be extremely thankful, because it's rewarding. Yes, it's hard, but at the end of the day, you just simply feel better because you're doing it, and because you're growing, and because you're learning, and because something relies on you. I have a family that relies on me. I have animals that rely on me. So at the end of the day, I'm just thankful. We're blessed, even in spite of this little monster. But I think dinner is calling my name, so that's where we're going to end it now.
Love. So baby, meet me down by the road, no giveaway. The cool dark water meets the full moonlight.
Come here, let me touch you.
Maybe we could be together. Can't nobody stop love tonight. So baby, meet me down by the road.
I don't like people.
The cool dark water meets the full moonlight.
I'm so tired.
Maybe we could be together. Can't nobody stop love tonight.
Be sure to like and subscribe so you too can be part of the Homegrown family.